And once I do that, then I'll have a normal right-click menu. So infinite clone is there. It's fairly straightforward, but it's going to be really useful, and I think most people don't know it's there, so I wanted to make sure that you were aware that it was there so that you could use it in your classroom if you find it necessary. So moving on, and again, if you have questions, please enter them in the chat window. Moving on to the next slide. Another feature we have in the Move tool, in the document camera, we would call this AVer Box. And it's a feature that we brought into the software. We now call it Spotlight. And it essentially is the same feature. And it's within a palette over here on the left that we've had the whole time that we haven't used yet. The Spotlight actually allows me to focus the student's attention on one particular item. And when I click this, what it basically does is put a black piece of paper over whatever it is that I'm looking at. I had basically kind of a word problem worksheet on there, and now I've just put a black piece of paper over the whole thing. And I can take this, click this hole that I have cut in the black piece of paper, and move it over a word problem. Now right now it's a circle. I can change that, and I'll show you that in a second, but I first want to show you that if I click on an edge, I can resize this circle. I can make it wider, make it into an oval. I don't maybe like the circle shape, so I can change it into a couple of different ways by clicking this first icon right here that looks a little bit like a ladder. Change it to a square or a triangle. I can also change the percentage here, so if I wanted to go down to 60% so that I could see what it was that I was focusing on, I have that option. Probably more useful to me right now is a square because I'm dealing with text. So I can focus on the problem itself. I can resize this box to go down to the actual size that I would like it to be. And then if I want, I can go down to 100% shade so that we are focused as a class on that one particular problem. And it shines a spotlight on that one problem so that students aren't distracted and that we can focus directly on the lesson at hand or the problem at hand. So the Spotlight is going to be something that I think you may find useful in your classroom, but it's definitely easy to use and it's right there. When we are done with this, to turn it off, all we have to do is click the X right there, and it goes away, and our lesson is still there. So it's just kind of an overlay that we can put right on top of the lesson. Okay. Now next to that, actually right underneath it, is a button that is called the Screen Visor. In the document camera, and this is built in, it's called the AVer Visor. In the software version, it's called the Screen Visor. And those of you who are as old as I am and have taught with an overhead projector, this is back from the days where we used to use a piece of paper on top of the overhead projector to kind of cover up answers, and we would reveal them over time. This is the software version of that. So if I click on this, it puts a gray shade over whatever I'm presenting, and I can click and move it down or back up whenever I want, but I can also go left and right. So this is going to be really helpful if you're teaching algebra and you have equations that go left and right. Any kind of chemical equations and things like that, I can move it in any direction. And once again, when I'm ready to remove it, I can just click the next and have it disappear. But I would find this really handy in any teaching situation where I wanted to reveal information at my own pace. So once again, it's right there in the Move tool with the Move tool palette over here on the left. It's called the Screen Visor. Okay. So once again, if you have any questions, feel free to jump on into the chat palette over on the right and let us know. We're going to move on to the Property panel. This looks like a blank slide because I haven't brought down the Property panel yet. But if you go under the Window menu at the top, you will see the Property panel right here. When you bring it up, you're going to see a window that pops up with 4 different palettes in it. And what the Property panel does is basically allow me to take these annotation tools that we have at the bottom and customize them to fit my needs. So I can take, for example, the freehand drawing tool. And you'll see that the freehand drawing tool has the 4 last used pens or inks that we've used. And so I can go over here and start drawing all that I want. But I can also come over here and change not only the color of that pen, I can change the transparency level of that pen. So maybe I don't want blue, maybe I want a purple pen. And you'll see over here this blue has now changed to a purple color. So I can change that. I can change line thickness. I can change the type of line from a straight line, or a solid line rather, to a dashed line, to a dotted line, dot, dash, dot. I can change what kind of start and end point the line has. If I want it to start or end with a circle or a square, an arrow, I have those options as well. The third tab is a text tab. So I'm going to go over to my text tool for a second, and I'm going to just type property panel, and I can actually go over here, choose any font that I have installed on my, I should have done this first, I apologize for that. Choose any font that I have installed on my computers, and I'm erasing, I apologize for this. Choose any font that I have installed on my computer, and then I can go and type whatever I need to. But I can basically choose the font, choose the size, and then begin typing. And similar to the other items that I have on here, I can choose the color as well, choose the size, like I said, choose the weight, choose the font. So it's a matter of picking the type of text that I want. The palette is going to remember those as the last used, so I can have all those choices as well. Going to keep that there. I'm also going to go back and draw a couple of things for you for a second, just because I want to be able to show you a couple of drawings. The last tab is the shape palette, or the shape property panel. This allows me, when I go to the shape button at the bottom, to choose from different shapes that are already there. Remember, these are going to be the most recently used. I can go over here and click on this and go and draw my blue circle. But I can also go back to the colors and choose the line and the fill. So I could make this into an orange lined circle with a green fill. I mean, I could really go in there and make all sorts of color combinations. Here's the outline color, here's the fill color behind it, and I can, of course, choose all those things. But I want to show you how this works with the Move tool. Because remember, each one of these things, if we click on it, we have the ability to resize and rotate. We saw that before with the introduction to the Move tool. I can resize. Every one of these is its own object where I can resize it, move it if I want. If I decide I want this over here, I can do that. But what's really good about this with the Move tool is that I now have the ability to rotate with precision. So over here I have the degrees option, where I can rotate by degrees. So if I want to rotate this by exactly 45 degrees, I can do that. So it's a little bit more precision using the property panel as opposed to just doing it with the green circle, but you certainly have those options. And of course I can just type in 0 and it will return it back to where it was.